We love Tesla's clean satin black trims, but it doesn't take long for water spots or even scratches to ruin it. Today, we're gonna be protecting it long term. Let's get started. So if you have a Tesla with black trims, or if you've just seen one, there's a high probability that you've seen water spots on the trims. Luckily, this Juniper is from March, and so it doesn't have the discoloration yet. But any old Tesla, you've probably seen it. It's an eyesore. It doesn't look great. This one, I mean, I can see it. I don't know if the camera will pick it up. It's starting to discolor a little bit, but it's not too bad. And this is the perfect time to go ahead and get it protected so that we don't get water spots. So first, take some Waterless and wipe these down. And then I'm gonna go back over with some isopropyl alcohol just to make sure that everything is clean. But basically just wipe down. I think I sprayed a little bit too much. Actually, you can already, come here. You can already kind of see it. Can you see that? Start to bubble up. That's like the beginning of the trims. Luckily, once you dry it, it doesn't look too bad. So this is our window trim protection film. We have it for the Model 3 and the Model Y, but basically it comes with a roll of all the PPF for the trims for the driver's side and the passenger side. I'm just gonna unroll that a little bit. It also comes with Squeegee and this slip solution. We already cut it open though, but it does come unopened. And then we also have a bottle for slip and then tack. We also made these so they don't come with water. The slip is just a drop of slip solution and then water. We go with distilled water. We want to make sure that it's clean. And then tack is just water. You can also add a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, just a drop or so if you want. It helps it bond a little bit better, but distilled water works just fine as well. So these come in a matte film just because the satin black trims match the matte grate, and so it doesn't change it. That's why we don't provide gloss. However, if you're just a gloss fiend and you want that, we can also do a custom order for you. PPF protects because it's basically a layer between your trims and then the elements. So like UV rays, water, bugs, anything that could damage your trims, and it's hydrophobic, so it's really easy to clean. So as you can see, there's a P and a D, passenger, driver, everything's labeled, so it's really easy to read. And so we're gonna be doing the passenger side. Luckily, the driver side is already installed. We've had it installed for months, so I'm actually gonna show you, or I'm gonna clean it and show you how easy it is to clean. So I'll be installing, like I said, on the passenger side. So I'm gonna cut this because it's easier to have the film right there with you. And it's easier to know which side is what if you split it up. So I'm gonna cut off the passenger side and then we're gonna head over to that side and install. This is personal preference. So this is just water and a little bit of alcohol. We're gonna use it to clean the trims, as I had stated before. It's really important to get the edges to make sure that everything is clean. So we're just gonna wipe that down. And we're just gonna be installing this rear bottom trim and then the corner. I'm going to take my slip solution. It helps keep any dirt or anything like that from getting under the film, especially because you're gonna be handling it. So, well, one, you should be washing your hands first, and then you spray it down. And then we're also gonna get the trims. I'm gonna be doing the corner first, so I'm just gonna make sure everything around it is sprayed down. I tend to use a lot of slip. It's easier to maneuver around and get into exactly where you want it to go. There's no such thing as too much. Another tip is to spray down the film. And then as I peel, I'm going to spray the film. I'm gonna spray this down one more time. As I said before, there can never be too much slip. The worst case scenario is if you don't have enough slip and then it gets stuck. And then you kind of have to like reinstall and or peel up and then try again. So we like to make sure it's wet well the first time. And I'm just gonna lay this down in the generic area that it's gonna go. I like to start at this rear section, and I just like to make sure that everything is kind of aligned where it needs to be in this corner, so like everything kind of like here. You wanna make sure that you have the orientation well, and you also wanna make sure, like right here, You can see there's like it's going over the trim. You want to make sure that everything is within the trim. You don't want any overhang. And then this looks good to me. I'm going to grab my tack. I'm going to try to keep everything in the same spot. It may move around a little bit, but I'm going to spray some tack right here in the corner. Get all the slip out. I'm going to lay it back down. So we're going to make sure everything in this corner is tacked down. See, I'm going to tackle this area that keeps coming up, but what I'm going to do is now, since this is down, I'm going to work on the bottom. There's going to be a slight stretch. As you can see how it is naturally, there's about, I don't know how much that is, maybe like, it doesn't really matter. There is a gap there. So basically, we're going to have to stretch this. It's not a hard stretch though. So a tip is to never stretch from like the end. You don't want to like pull it there because it's eventually just going to pull back. You want to kind of stretch from the middle gradually going down until you like where it is, like that. And we're going to work on this middle. As I stretch, you'll see that this middle isn't necessarily in the exact space it needs to be, which is totally fine. We'll get to that after we get this down. But I'm going to stretch this one more time. And it's not a hard stretch. I'm literally just like gliding my hand and it's stretching with me. And then we're going to spray that down really well. Yeah, just making sure that it doesn't go over, but it's almost like just right to the edge. So now that that is down, I'm basically going to grab my slip and spray it under. You want to make sure that like as you're doing this, you're hydrating the film. You don't want it to get stuck because, well, I can show you up here. So like this, we haven't hydrated since we installed it, right? It doesn't really like move that well. You can tell that things are getting stuck, and that's where like stretch happens. So you want to make sure that everything is hydrated as you install. So now that I've added some slip, you can see that it's just moving around freely, and that's exactly what you want. Just kind of align every edge to where I want it. You can move up, down, wherever you need. Once you get it to where you want, I like to split it into two. So I like to squeegee up everything above this like natural line. I'm going to squeegee up. Make sure you get all the bubbles. Go over it a few times. Make sure you're overlapping. And then we're basically going to do the same thing but going down. We're just going to hydrate all of this before we start. Make sure everything can move around freely. Just going to place that back down. And then we're basically just going to do the same thing we did on the bottom. So we're going to kind of stretch it out. And there's like a line, as you can see here. So we're basically just stretching to that line. That looked good to me, so I'm going to do it one more time. And then I'm just going to peel up. Oh. My bad. I just sprayed into the camera. Whoops. You guys probably won't have cameras in your face though, so it should work fine. So I'm going to take my squeegee, and we're basically just going to squeegee about an inch or so. All this looks pretty hydrated, and I'm going to kind of run through this. Just make sure that everything is within the edge. And then same thing, only this one, there's not necessarily like a lot to squeegee, so I'm just kind of going to gradually squeegee down. You want to make sure that you're never going towards your tack point. So like I tacked all this down, so I don't want to move the water into here because that's already tacked down. So I'm kind of just like squeegeeing and then going down with it, because those are like our escape points. You can think of it as that. Last, I'm going to tackle that. So basically I'm just going to spray a lot of tack into there to get all of the, you can see that there's still bubbles. I'm gonna get all that slip out. And then I'm gonna use my God-given tools, my finger, and I'm just gonna push all of that out. And it'll come back, as you can see, a few times. You just wanna keep pushing, and then We're gonna take try to get it as small as possible. Get everything out around it. And then, so this is isopropyl alcohol and water, and that was just water. And a lot of times that will be enough, but sometimes if you're getting these wrinkles, or I guess these fingers, do not stress, just grab some isopropyl alcohol. You can get some from like a Walmart, Walgreens, any kind of drugstore. And then we're just gonna spray that in there. The alcohol basically dries it out, makes it a lot easier to just lay down. So I'm just gonna, same thing, push out the water. And then if you still have trouble, what you can do is grab a microfiber. Any kind of towel really, doesn't have to be exclusively a microfiber. And we're basically just gonna push. And then we're gonna hold. And what it's doing is all the water that we just pushed out is being soaked up by the microfiber, because a lot of times when you're pushing it out, it just goes right back in. We're just gonna hold. And if that doesn't work, you can let it dry out. That is honestly probably the easiest way to go about this. Let it dry for about like 30 minutes and then come back and push down. I'm gonna let that kind of just sit, and then we're gonna move on to the bottom trim, and then we're gonna come back to it to see if it will work with us. So I just hydrated it, so now we're just going to apply it. Easy. And then this one, it's very easy. You can start from either side. I'm gonna start from this side and then just move that way. And it's the same thing. We're gonna attack this, move this around, and then squeegee everything out. So that looks pretty good. So I'm gonna grab my tack. I'm just gonna lay that back down. Boom, easy. Then we're gonna move to this side. And like I said, we're not just gonna stretch right here, we're gonna stretch the whole thing. So it's basically just kind of like pushing as we go. Boom, and then it's there. Sweet. I like to get it as close to the edge without going over. I'm basically just going to squeegee this out. Right. And then, same story, going to hydrate the middle to make sure it can move around to where I need to. Okay, and then basically just going to make sure that all the edges are down where I need them. Going to do the body line. And then a tip is if your squeegee starts getting stuck, it means that your PPF is dry on the top, which won't necessarily cause a lot of issues. It just makes install harder. So you want to make sure that you hydrate the top as well. Just makes it easier to squeegee. And then just taking the body line, and then we're going to go up. That moved a little bit. And then we're gonna go down. We're gonna take the isopropyl alcohol and we're gonna spray the edges, and that basically seals the edges so there's no lift up, nothing over time is gonna come up, and it basically just makes sure that the PPF is adhered fully. Then we're just gonna squeegee all the edges. I'm also inspecting as I go to make sure that there's no like treble edges or some overlap or overhang that I missed. But everything looks pretty good so far. I'm gonna do a wipe down at this point, and so we can see everything. Final inspection, and I'm gonna take the Waterless and go to the other side and wipe it down because we haven't cleaned it in a few months, and I'm gonna show you how easy it is to clean. We typically recommend 24 hours for it to fully adhere, so I would still be careful with like the edges and like touching it or playing around with it. But after 24 hours, you should be pretty good. But I'm just being a little bit careful with my wipe down to make sure I don't lift up any edges. We use Avery Dennison Supreme Wrap, and it is rated 7 to 10 years. So this will last you the long haul. See, all that looks good. So now we're just gonna take our Waterless and go to the other side. So this is a side that's been installed for, I wanna say 4 months, give or take. And so we're just gonna clean it real quick. And it's so simple. It's just a nice wipe down. So I'm just gonna pour some water to show how it kind of just beads off. It's very simple, easy to clean. We love that. And that's a wrap. Clean, protected trims for years to come. If you're like me and you love your car clean and protected, I highly recommend this. You can get this product at the link below. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.